Aloha! This video focuses on avoiding plagiarism and is brought to you by the Noeau Center, which is the tutoring and test proctoring center at UH West Oahu. Wondering how to complete this workshop? If you're viewing this video for course credit, you must also complete the accompanying quiz. Don't worry, we'll direct you to the quiz when it's time to fill it out. If you're not watching the video for credit, you're welcome to complete the quiz anyway, though it's not required. Now let's begin. Here are the 4 key areas we're going to cover today to help you better understand how to avoid plagiarism. First, we'll discuss what plagiarism is, then we'll explain why you should avoid it. We'll then provide you with some tips and recommendations for avoiding plagiarism. Finally, we'll discuss what you should do if you're still unsure whether you've committed plagiarism. First of all, what is plagiarism? Unfortunately, some students plagiarize unintentionally, so part of avoiding plagiarism is being clear on all the different forms plagiarism can take. Take a look at the list of options below. Are any of these options plagiarism? Feel free to pause the video so that you can take time to think about your answer. Hit play when you're ready to resume. If you're thinking that all of these options describe plagiarism, you're right. It's all of these things. It's definitely stealing, though that may seem unusual to us, since the theft of words or research seems so conceptually different than the theft of a physical possession, like a car. Taking from other people's work without providing proper credit can even be considered an infringement or violation of the original author's intellectual property rights. Take a look at option B. Lots of people believe that they've avoided plagiarism if they change out a few words and a quote from an original source. Unfortunately, this belief is wrong. The best practice is to rewrite the key information from the source in your own words whenever possible. Now look at options C and D. Even presenting or using others' material as your own without attributing the original source is plagiarism. As option E mentions, so is citing a source incorrectly. The last example is another one that many people don't realize is stealing. When you translate another person's written work into a different language without citation, you've committed plagiarism. A big part of avoiding these traps is learning how and when to properly cite all of your sources. To help you do this, we'll provide you with some practice exercises and activities a bit later. Here are 3 not-so-obvious ways in which plagiarism can occur. One is failing to use proper quotation marks. Sometimes we may put a starting quotation mark, but forget to put an ending one, leaving our readers confused as to where the quote ends and our voice begins. Second, plagiarism can also occur when we overly rely on synonyms. We're often told that plagiarism occurs when we take a passage word for word from a source without giving proper credit. However, it's not enough just to use a thesaurus to change out a few words. Remember, as I mentioned earlier, when we put information into our own words, we need to make an effort to change the wording substantially. We need to critically analyze and contrast the ideas from the sources we are citing by paraphrasing. The third way plagiarism can happen is through outside source overload. If 90% of our paper comes from outside sources, it doesn't matter if we've cited the original authors or not. When we do this, it can still be plagiarism because the majority of our paper is actually coming from the work of others and not our own independent analysis. Although the amount of your paper that should be your own original work can vary by subject or assignment, one loose guideline to follow is that 75% of your paper should be written in your own voice, while only 25% should come from outside sources. If you're not sure what the proper balance is for your particular class, don't be embarrassed about emailing or chatting with your instructor. To better understand what plagiarism is and isn't, let's look at a few examples. In this example, a student writer, Mary, was conducting research when she came across an article she liked by Dr. Lane. Feel free to pause the video to take time to read what both Dr. Lane and Mary wrote. Do you think that Mary has plagiarized? Resume the video when you're ready to find out. Yes, this is plagiarism. The student writer's version follows the exact same sentence structure that she found in the source. She has only changed a few words out. Many of us have incorrectly been taught that this is okay, but now you know that this can still be considered plagiarism. How about this one? In this example, a student writer, Kyla, came across a research publication she liked by Dr. Puyo from 2011. Again, you can pause the video to read both passages. What do you think? Has Kyla plagiarized? Hit play when you're ready to find out. This may not technically be plagiarism, but it's also not the best practice. It is often stronger to paraphrase or put information into your own words rather than to quote. Paraphrasing allows you to use just the information you want from the source and to frame it in a way that best fits your writing style. Paraphrasing also shows your instructor that you understand what you are reading. It gives you an opportunity to write something in a simpler or clearer way. Let's look at another example. A student came across the passage in the upper box. In the box below is what the student wrote in his paper. What do you think? Did the student plagiarize? At this point, you know the drill with the pause and play buttons. If you guessed that this was not plagiarism, you're right. This is a great example of paraphrasing. This example avoids plagiarism by citing the author in APA style and stating Diamond's point in the student writer's own words. Now let's talk about why you should avoid plagiarism. There are serious consequences to plagiarizing in college that can affect your chance of graduating. First, you might receive a failing grade. Your professor could penalize you for the assignment or the class. If the class is a prerequisite for another class in your major, this could slow down your college pathway, hindering you from graduating on time. Plagiarism also lowers your credibility, potentially damaging your reputation with other professors on campus. It can even lead to expulsion from school. This is the most extreme consequence in which you would be kicked out of school and no longer able to attend or graduate. This could also happen retroactively if it is found out that you plagiarized after you graduate. Your degree could be taken away. As you can see, it's simply not worth the risk. The bottom line is, don't do it. So how do you avoid plagiarism? Provide clear and full acknowledgement. Provide citations wherever you use specific facts or ideas that are not your own. It should be clear to readers which parts of your paper are your voice and ideas and which are not. When in doubt, cite it out. For direct quotes, be sure to include the name of the author and the page number where you found the quote. The quote should start and end with a quotation mark and should be integrated within a sentence. No quote should stand alone, and it would be ideal to have quotes that support your ideas rather than reiterate them. Another very important tool that we've been discussing throughout this workshop is paraphrasing. The best way to make sure you're truly paraphrasing and not copying is to read the section of the source that you'd like to use until you fully understand it. You may need to read it multiple times or look up words to be sure you understand what they mean. Read it over and over until you can hold the thought in your head or explain it to a friend in your own words. Then, put the source away and begin writing down your understanding of the passage. After that, double check to make sure you haven't plagiarized by accident. Change the wording further if needed. This method not only helps avoid plagiarizing, but it helps to highlight what you found most important in the section you read. Let's look at some positive examples of quoting and paraphrasing. On the left is a passage that a student writer found while conducting his research. It was written by Dr. Ryan. In the box in the upper right-hand side of your screen, we've provided you with an effective example of a direct quote. This example includes the author's last name and the year of publication, which helps anyone reading the student's paper to identify the source of the information. In the lower right-hand box, we provided you with an effective example of paraphrasing. As in the previous example, the student still clearly communicates Dr. Ryan's findings, but here, he has instead chosen to express them in his own words. Now let's do a paraphrasing exercise. This activity is called the Accidental Plagiarist, and it's taken from Bruce Ballinger's book, The Curious Writer. For this activity, you'll need to scroll down our website and look just below the video player. You should see a link for a PDF handout. Click on that link and download the file. At the top of this document, you'll see a paragraph from Leslie Berenstein's Time magazine article about hookahs. We've also included the paragraph on the left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side, imagine that a student, Taylor, has decided to use Miss Berenstein's work as one of her sources. In this activity, pause the video and examine a segment from Taylor's work. Taylor has plagiarized. Can you identify why? If you were Taylor's teammate, how might you suggest rewriting this attempt to avoid plagiarism? If you're completing this workshop for class credit, now is the time to fill out the quiz provided below the video player. You're also welcome to complete the quiz, even if you're just watching the video to learn more about writing. Remember to submit the quiz when finished, and hit play to catch the end of the workshop. I hope that was helpful. If you're still feeling unsure, don't worry. There's lots of resources and people here to help. You can always ask for feedback from our Know-How Center tutors or your classmates. Provide whoever is helping you with a draft of your paper and ask them whether they think there's a clear distinction between your voice and the voice of your sources. Another resource is plagiarism.org. If you have more questions about plagiarism, this website provides further information. Lastly, you can also try an online plagiarism checker. SEO Tools is one that I like. This is a free tool that uses a search engine to see if your writing is copying language that has been used by any other sources available on the web. Keep in mind that plagiarism checkers will sometimes flag direct quotes as plagiarism, but if you have indicated the source appropriately, you're okay. If something is flagged but you haven't cited it, then you definitely should. That concludes our workshop. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to your instructor or the Know-How Center at 808-689-2750 or uhwowc@hawaii.edu.